right, so we'll call to order this meeting at 4:02 p.m. Commissioners attending remotely, can you please introduce yourselves?
Helen Reilly?
Robin Gillian.
Connor Daly.
Kit Mason.
Andrew Savage.
Excellent. No one spoke over each other. That was awesome. Right, that's pretty good. All right, so we'll next move on to item 2, which is the agenda. Do we hear a motion to approve the agenda as proposed?
So moved.
Those moved by Andrew. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Helen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an agenda. Next up is public forum. There is no one present in the room. Is there anyone online? All right, we will then close down public forum and move on to item 4, which is the consent agenda. Do we hear a motion to approve the contents of the consent agenda as proposed?
So moved?
This moved by Helen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? We move on to item 5, airport operations quarterly update. Dave makes his debut. Right. Yeah. Okay. I've been waiting so patiently all these years for this. So holy cow, I can't wait.
This is true.
Okay. I've been saying, like, when is Dave gonna say something?
It's a tall order, but best we can. So good. So we'll get the presentation up. I was told it has to be about 15 minutes or so. I'll try to keep it as concise as I can. Let's see. But we'll get going as soon as we get the presentation. Oh, it's loading. Okay. It's about 8 slides. So probably a lot of slides, so we'll try to get through as quickly as we can. But here we go. All right. Go. So I can control it with that mouse from there, or I can.
No, there's no mouse. It's just that.
Oh, it's just that. Okay. Okay, here we go.
I thought I was gonna be using
Back.
So he's got props and all sorts of.
Yeah, yeah, okay. All right, so it's not, yeah, it's not amazing, so. Oh, there we go. Okay, good, just that. All right, okay, good. Good, so this is a couple pictures I've taken kind of over the years to kind of give everyone an idea of what we see, operations sees out there, as well as airfield maintenance. 900, but of course, this is taking the mid to late fall. So as you can see it back in the background against the mountains, the winter up there has started, which we now are experiencing. So this is also what we see out there as airport operations, airfield maintenance is a typical scenario. This is CRJ that was just de-iced, and this is the ops vehicle right behind that aircraft. So as you can see, very difficult conditions, difficult to see the taxiway. And here's another picture of that aircraft taking off. Of course, it has the green stuff on it, which is the Type 4 de-ice fluid. Another picture of that aircraft. So, and this is another picture of what we commonly see out there. This is on the runway itself. So it's very interesting because all the markings disappear for the aircraft and the vehicle operators out there. So it's very difficult conditions to navigate in, especially when it's down as quickly as it can with, inch an hour snow. It's very difficult to know the locations. That's why it's extremely important to notify, let air traffic know our positions out there, because at this point, air traffic control can't even see the vehicle. So we have to self-report our positions out there as well. So, and this is the runway, and actually on the right side of the frame here is the lights for the edge of the runway. Okay, so here's a couple pictures of the vehicles that we use out there. Here's the multi-function or multitasking equipment. This is our Tango 4. This is about 9 years old, this piece, 8 or 9 years old, this piece of equipment. And then here are the multitasking equipment vehicles in formation for their passing as they go down the runway. So typically they do about 50 feet either side of the center line to keep about 100 feet wide for the aircraft. We actually discussed it with airlines, went to airlines, and discovered that about 100 feet is what they desire to take off and land in a event that's continuously precipitating. So,
and those 3 vehicles will do 50 feet.
Yeah, roughly 50 feet either
Okay.
side, and then we'll have airport operations fall behind the vehicles to take assessments of the surface, so. Yep. Yeah, there you go. Okay, we're good? Okay, perfect. All right, here's the same piece of equipment at night. This is what it looks like at night. Lighted up numbers that we got a few years ago. Really beneficial having the lighted numbers on vehicles as well. This is our snow blower. I think it's Tango 17. That's our massive snow blower up against C-17. Goes to show you how the size of aircraft that you can have.
Tom could try.
And behind that is an airline aircraft too. So I crammed as many things as I could in this picture. So, and this is one of the newer
I'm
pieces.
not getting any audio. Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah, loud and clear, Jeff.
You can't. Can you hear me at all? Uh-oh.
Robin, do you
I think
hear
we
me?
can all hear you, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, I can hear you
Jeff,
and you can
okay.
hear the people on Zoom, but you just can't seem to hear the room.
All right. So you cannot hear me, correct?
And now I hear you very quietly.
Okay, I'll speak into it a little better. There we go. All right. Think we're good. Okay. I'm gonna speak a little bit clearer into it, a little closer to the mic. So this is our Brett. Can you hear me now? Is it okay? A little better?
Yeah, this is Jeff. I hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is our brand new piece of equipment. This came in over the summer. This is our brand new snow blower that.
Yes.
Just keep talking. Okay, good. Brand new snow blower that's on the flatbed truck before being delivered to the airport here. That is currently in use during snow removal as we speak. Well, not as we speak, figuratively, but when it's next, that'll be in service. Good. Come on. I have to click on that, right? Okay. Here's the brand new multi-taxi equipment that was procured also. We got one in September, one I believe in October, and those are also in use currently. So they've been put into service. This is our brand new loader that we also received. So we got a lot of new equipment. So we're in excellent shape right now when it comes to equipment. Okay, some of the things we see is airport operations, some of the aircraft. The one on the left was an aircraft that left the pavement off the paved surface. We have to address those immediate concerns. We go out there with the aircraft fire rescue, the fire department, and work in close coordination with air traffic as well to make sure that we secure the site and we coordinate everything to recover the aircraft. At that point, we got a flatbed and a crane to actually lift the aircraft onto the flatbed and get it off the runway. Okay. Some of the things we also say is
Just out of curiosity, that crane, is that like something you have to like go rent and you have to wait for it to show up and do all that?
that crane was on site putting up steel for the
Oh, so
project
they have-
next. So it was right here and it worked out. So
Which is honestly like a prime example of resource allocation that ops has to like figure out.
Right,
plus what
right,
moment
right.
in time.
Right.
Because the quicker we do it, the
Yeah,
better.
sure. I was just going for like, you might not normally have a crane flying.
No,
around the airport.
not typically, so. Good. Some of the cool things we see here, obviously, we have four C-130s that came in, that did touch and goes, actually departed, one after the other, and that was kind of cool to see. And here's just an example of some of the large aircraft we see here at BTV. This is a recent deployment of the Air Guard. So 747 comes in. We can handle those types of aircraft. We get a lot of questions. What's the largest plane that you can accommodate at BTV? Well, we can accommodate pretty large aircraft up to these size planes. So, okay. The role of airport operations, this PowerPoint's a little bit mixed up, not really in sequential order, but the role of airport operations in construction. We have a lot of construction projects during the summertime. We coordinate with air traffic control, coordinate with the airlines, issue notification to the pilots, close and open all the paved surfaces, inspect the surfaces prior to reopening the surfaces, and ensure the overall safety during the construction. So this was our recent mill and overlay. I know that Larry had touched a lot on that in the previous airport commission meetings, but Where they're standing right now is the actual part that was taken out. There was a mill and overlay. About 3 inches lower is where they're standing, and that in the same night they would actually take out 3 inches of pavement, about 150 feet wide by about 150 to 200 feet long, and they would take out about 3 inches depth of that asphalt, and then replace that in the same 6-hour window that was allotted each night. So really interesting to see all the stuff taking place. This is the grooving machine that came along about 30 days after the mill and overlay was done. And this machine helps with the braking action for the aircraft. That's why it's grooved, a grooved runway out there. So quite the process to see. So this right here is prior to the mill and overlay. This is an overhead bird's eye view, or a 10,000-foot view. This was as the construction was taking place, and this is the construction once it was done. You see the all brand new asphalt, beautiful black asphalt that was put down. But this is what it looks like once it was done. This is what it looks like from the ops truck as well. Okay, at the same time, we were out there replacing the cable. Our maintenance crew was out there replacing the circuitry for our main runway to improve the conductivity of the circuit for our main runway. Took advantage of that opportunity of the runway being closed at night. So just to go over some of the last several months, current and short-term reportable items for airport operations, airfield maintenance, and some long-term items. Actually, before we go that, I want to explain a little bit more about what airport operations actually does. Every shift, they go out there and they do an inspection of the entire airport, essentially, the safety areas, the perimeter road, the perimeter fence, all those different things, and they actually have to report that. Every inspection they conduct, they have to come back and they fill out a form that documents the inspection they conducted. Okay. And this is what we use. This is our dashboard for all of our go-to items having to do with airport operations and also maintenance. Okay. Some of the things over the last several months that we've done, we've had the FAA inspection back in June. As I said before, we had equipment procurement that took place, the 4 pieces of equipment. Project Next, we're actively involved with the access control and the cameras for the next project. Burlington Tech Center that recently opened. Well, we actively worked on security component of that. We're also doing what's called a badge audit. Every single badge that's issued, the SIDA badges that we issued for all the people that have access onto the airport, we have to do an audit to make sure that everybody has their badges accounted for. We have to do that once per year. Okay. We also worked on the ALIA storage facility. That's been started. That construction project has begun. We worked on the security fence and getting that approved by TSA as well. We had airline de-ice meeting back in October, coordinating all the de-ice with air traffic and the airlines. Kestrel Coffee went live. That opened back, I believe, in September. We had to do a lot of coordination when it came to security, putting them into the airport security program as a concessionaire. Then, of course, we had the 5K run in September. A lot of coordination went into that. So I'm proud to say that went very smoothly. And we could do it now once a year. Depending on how much you guys want to do that. So we also we hired 2 brand new ops specialists due to internal promotion and vacancy. And we also initiated a Blue Lightning initiative as well for all the SIDA badge holders, working with our marketing team on that. So that's now live as well. So good. We also initiated what's called Air Badge. That is a new system for all of our SIDA badge holders. It's basically a go-to system that allows us to better manage the badging process. Okay, and actually, I have a prop in the closet, but I'll get that out. Oh, if you want to bring that now, yeah, I can bring out some of the props. So for those that are here, so but anyway, so this right here is our explosives detection. We had to procure an explosives detection device for aviation worker screening. So TSA is very concerned about insider threats. There it is right there. So we had to procure that to make sure that We randomly select certain individuals, aviation workers, like airline employees that come through some of the doors to make sure they're not bringing in prohibited items and they don't have traces of explosives on them, things like that. So this device will actually help us do that. So we did procure that about a month ago. So, oh yeah, here you go. Here's the actual device here. You can see it.
How much was it?
About $30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. We carry that very lightly, be very careful with that. So there it is. Perfect. Good. So that's an explosives trace detector in any kind of uh, certain explosives it will detect. And we actually have to fine tune it every time it's used. And we have a third party company that actually does the random employee screening that does it for us. So that's Green Mountain Concert Services. So here are the two managers that work with me. On the left, we have Stacy Lovely. She is the airport operations manager. On the right, we have Andrew Gepner. He is the airfield manager. Just to go over some of the things that we have to go through once a year is our FAA inspection. And that's something that the FAA inspector comes in from the New England region, from Burlington, Massachusetts, and conducts a 3-day inspection of a bunch of different items. This is actually the outbrief that was provided to us at the end of that 3-day inspection. So overall, they were very impressed with the professionalism, dedication, and the knowledgeable staff that we have here at BTV. They're very proud of that. And but they're also here to give us some recommendations as well. So, which is great. So we use that as an opportunity to make some adjustments as needed, but they go through everything. They go through all the DoD/ARF records and to make sure everything is up to date, everything is in compliance. That's the firehouse. That's done by the Air National Guard. Okay, they go over the wildlife, any wildlife issues they want to know about, and everything's documented, as well as us having our annual wildlife review that we have once a year as well. So the FAA, they also do an airfield inspection. They physically go out on the airfield, do an inspection with a ops specialist, and they determine whether or not our markings or signage, all the things that are safety related are in compliance. If they see anything, then it becomes a compliance item and we have to remedy those items. So
Bonus points to why those are not so.
Yeah,
they look
good to me, but I'm not sure.
So not so good. If you take a look at the one right here, I don't know if you can see my cursor there, some of that is peeling. So we're gonna replace that soon. Some of this also, if you take a look at that center line, some of that peeling is coming up a little bit. So, and if you take a look at the one that's on the lower right, we actually got that sign replaced as a result of the inspection. So, so they do a daytime inspection, they do a nighttime inspection as well. And that's where they identify any kind of fading signs, any kind of fading markings, looking for the reflectivity of some of the markings as well. Okay. And then we have, oh, I think there we go. Cool. All right. So some of these things we had to make corrections on. Some of these things actually were approved by the FAA previously. They went through several prior inspections, but then on this inspection, they found something that had been corrected. Yeah. Yeah. So
it was good before.
yeah, exactly. But we just go with what they come up with. So we take it as a way to improve what we do here. So ops training records, all the driving training records they go through randomly. They check the individual driving training records. ACM, Airport Certification Manual, they look at some of the things that have to be revised with that as well. They go through all the work orders, all of the self-inspection reports that I had previously identified. And they go through a fueling inspection as well. We actually physically do a fueling inspection with one of our ops specialists, and Stephanie's the one that actually conducted that. I believe it's one of the, if not the best inspection they've seen, which is amazing to have those.
And they test not just the trucks, equipment, heritage is a big part of that. Where
Yeah.
their equipment is really, really well done. They also test Dave. Oh, all this too. That's a big part of the A plus that This is their report, this is FAA's report.
Yep. Yep, so it's great. At the end of the 3 days, we all sit down and we go over all the findings, all the things that they liked or needed slight corrections on. So it's really great to have that feedback, and they bring stuff back that they see from other airports too, that they recommend that we try here at this airport. So placards on the vehicles, placards on the fuel farm, any kind of leaks, any kind of signs of combustion, a lot of different things involved with a fuel inspection. There's so much that goes into it, but safety is critical with this kind of stuff. I mean, we don't want any kind of issues happening, because that fuel goes into the passenger aircraft and the GA aircraft, and we want to make sure we don't conduct an inspection of the quality, but we want to make sure that to some degree we do. There's strainers inside the heads of the fueling, so to make sure that there's no contaminants in there, things like that it's properly in there. So to some degree we do have a little bit of a stake in the quality of the fuel, but it's mainly the safety when it comes to the vehicles, the fuel farm. So, all right, go through fueling records as well. Everything here was great, and some of the discrepancies that we had. Some of the markings that we immediately took care of, and then we had one of the signs that was replaced, and that is the sign that was replaced as part of the inspection, the taxiway echo sign near the air guard. And here's the brand new sign that was just put in. Even though we had the inspection back in June, this was the sign finally came about 2 weeks ago. So we finally had it installed. So it took a long time to get here. And here's a team that helped us install it. So good. Okay, and this is the 5K run that we had. A little backstory behind what we had to do as airport operations is that we have had to come up with a safety and security event plan for the 5K. It's not just, hey, we're going to do a 5K, have at it. There's a lot of planning, a lot of very methodical things that we have to put into this to make sure the FAA is okay with it. That's exactly what we did. So we came up with a plan, came up with a letter to all the tenants saying these are all the surfaces going to be impacted by the 5K event, as well as the actual route. And this is the approval letter saying, yep, you're good to go for your plan is approved, 5K run. So, and here's a couple pictures of the actual event. And on the right side, somebody was dressed for the occasion, very aviation themed. So here's a little bit of the winter preparation. On the left is the sodium formate dispenser, and actually have this. This is a actual sample of the sodium formate. It looks like aquarium gravel a little bit, but that's the stuff that we use to de-ice the runways and the taxiways. So, and very expensive stuff. It's about $1.50 per pound. So we use it when we have to, but we try to conserve it wherever we can. So, period. So, good. All right, excellent. On the right side, we have the brooms, and those are wearable items that we have to replace periodically. And this is a picture of the core of the broom itself on the left side. On the right side is the actual a broom that's basically prepared to be put onto a super sweeper or the MTE. We have to manually put it. Basically, it's wafers, and some of it are poly wafers, like plastic wafers. The other one are steel, and we have to basically put them in a sequential way so that they look exactly like that, and gives us the right mix of that basically that we desire to sweep the runway. So seems to work out the best for us. I think it's 2 steel and 1 poly is what we use. So this is a poly blade that's being installed on that plow blade. We use poly mainly because it's less impactful than steel blade. Steel blade is very tough on paint and in-payment lights and stuff like that. So we use a poly. It's a plastic that gives a little bit and is not as impactful to the surface. So this is actually something that we borrowed from DPW a few weeks ago. And this sodium formate, what happens during the summer is that it gets humid out. And what happens is that it starts to solidify into blocks. And instead of throwing that away, we actually put it back into use by basically grinding it up and then putting it into the sieve. This is a sieve that we got from DPW that allows us to get it to the fine particles that's needed to put through our dispenser in the vehicle. So we like to use it and not waste it if at all possible. This is how we could do that. So we did have a snow meeting back in October 15th. I'm not going to go through all the details here, but we go through all of the different things as pertains to the airlines in a snow meeting. You know, notifying airport operations, understanding of the priority surfaces, how we clear the surfaces in a sequential way. And we had the meeting to make sure that they understand that, as well as where to put snow piles when they are doing their own plowing on the ramps, and also any kind of anything having to do with as pertains to the airlines is what we try to cover in that meeting. So, okay. So we have to comply with this advisory circular because we have a certain amount of airplane operations. We have to clear our priority surfaces in the period of time. And this is the circular that gives us that guidance. Okay. And of course, we do the main runway, that's our priority. And then we try to maintain that 100 feet wide clear during an active snow event. When it's coming up pretty hard, we try to maintain that 100 feet. And then once we get in between flights, we get enough time to do from edge to edge, 150 feet wide, then we can do that. So it takes a little bit of coordination between airport operations and airport maintenance to be able to do that. So, okay. We do a automated call in for the snow crews. Okay, so we just basically push one button and it calls the crew in. It's a little bit more improved than years previous when we had to call each individual maintenance worker to come in and respond to snow. So here's a just a snapshot of what it looks like during a snow event. This is what's reported to air traffic, and it's on our Flybe TV website as well. Just a snapshot of all the conditions of all of our surfaces, all of our paved surfaces at the airport. So, okay, basically our snow and ice control plan. Snow and ice control plan is what we use as our go-to document, but basically we all this basically means is that we try to maintain the surface as good as we can based on what the precipitation is, and we report that to air traffic control and the notification to the pilots as well. Okay, what we have here to help us with the notification to the pilots is this is called a BOMOC. This is a kind of a solid state a piece of equipment, but it works, it's tried and true. But what it does is that provides a backup. We report the surface conditions, and this provides another means to kind of reinforce the conditions that we're reporting on the airfield for our main runway. So what this does is this provides, we have this basically goes in between the two seats of the vehicle on the console. And we, the way it works is that you go about 20 miles an hour and we do 9 basically tests down the runway. We slam the brakes on, we go about 20 miles an hour, slam the brakes on, come to a stop, and it gives us a reading. And then we do it again for 8 additional times. And this gives us a reading that provides numbers, mu values, which allows us to confirm whether or not the conditions are accurate or not. So great piece of equipment that allows us to really be confident in the report that we have out there that we're reporting. So, okay, we also have this is our new Vizsla called WX Horizon, a really great additional tool that we have at our disposal. And in the middle here, we have each one of our pavement sensors. It tells the condition as well as the pavement temperature for each one of these stations. And each one of those sensors over the mill and overlay was replaced as part of the mill and overlay. So it's great to have brand new sensors, reliable sensors, and down below here, it provides a surface temperature. It provides the concentration of the chemical. So when I said that the sodium formate that we put on the runway, it provides us that chemical concentration, so we know if it's effective or not. So, but it also provides a predictive temperature and precipitation. So it's another tool available to us when we're trying to determine whether or not we should hold off on putting down the chemical or if we should keep on, sweeping the runway. It all depends on what the conditions are and we'll adapt to the conditions and to keep it as clear as possible. This right here is one of the conferences that we went to. This is the Hershey conference that we went to back in the spring. Great information provided at these conferences. This was actually one of the presentations that basically was a before and after. This is an 8 years difference between the pavement on the left versus the right, and just provides a little bit of an understanding about how important it is to do things such as the crack filling, because that does protect because if you have cracks in the surface and the ice gets into those cracks, it'll really do a lot of damage to the surface. So as well as sustainability, they went over the sustainability such as the renewable, fully renewed passenger boarding bridge, which is what we currently have, right? How it lessens the amount of carbon needed to produce a brand new passenger boarding bridge. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So, okay. And this was a runway safety summit that we went to back in the spring as well. Stacy and I went to this. But I thought it was really interesting because all of these airports, it was put on by Massport, but it's good to have BTV in the mix of all the other Northeast, not only New England, but also like Port Authority in New York, New Jersey. They were also there as well. And I think it was very interesting to see our logo amongst all the rest of them. It looks the best, exactly. So, okay. Okay, we also have SMS that we're currently. Okay, we have SMS we're trying to implement. That is something that is on the horizon that we're actively trying to implement. Yeah. Okay, some long-term items as well. RFP for paint removal, things like that. Oh, the procurement process, we may not need to bring it to Airport Commission, but depending on the bid, we may have to. It all depends on what the amount turns out to be. So, contract paint as well. Okay. And third-party concession screen that may come to Airport Commission as well. So at some point. So, okay. We also have tomorrow. We have our insurance inspection as well. We have not only an FAA inspection but also an insurance inspection, but that'll be taking place tomorrow into tomorrow evening as well. Okay. Full-scale exercise that'll take place in September 2026. Where any scenario is going to be on the airport. That will be on September 12th of next year. Next year. Okay, here's Stephanie Mueller. She is the airport operations foreperson. She started as started airport operations back in January 2020, and she was promoted to the operations foreperson in June. I'm really proud of the fact that she went out and got her CM certification, which is amazing. She went out for a 1-week course and she passed the exam, and a lot of knowledge involved with this exam. It's a huge accomplishment. They go over the finance and administration of airports, airport planning, construction, environmental items, airport operations, security, maintenance, as well as airport communications and community relations. But huge accomplishment, and really proud of the fact that she went out and did that. So, okay, I will be attending an ACRP panel. That's TRB, Transportation Research Board, on December 5th, actually 16th. 15th and 16th coming up here. That's in Washington, D.C. So I'm representing the airport in this. And basically, it's solutions to protect airport outdoor worker health and safety. So really interesting that I was asked to do this. They gave me a call and they said, yeah, I would be willing to participate in this. So, okay, this is the last slide here, but this is what we have every year. We have Heritage that comes around. And I don't know if Santa actually does the de-icing, but he comes around the bucket truck to say hi to everybody. So that's it. That's all I have. Yeah. All right, great.
Robin has her.
Excellent. Thank you. Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. What? Yeah.
Hey, Dave. Wow, what a presentation. That's a lot of stuff. I got to go back a few paragraphs for my questions, but one of them was when the FAA does its inspection, and you do like your follow-up items, let's say that you already knew about the echo sign, but it was already, maybe you already knew about it, you'd already ordered it. Do you like self-disclose, or they're just going to find it anyway and they're still going to ding you on it?
What typically happens is that if we have a work order, it depends on how, if it's a critical item, if it's a critical sign, they typically would write us up. If it's something that's less critical, like a directional sign,
Yeah,
if we have it in a work order, it's already ordered, it probably will not be a corrective item, but usually it's stuff they find, right? If they find it and we already haven't put it in a work order and identified it as a concern, that's a little more critical. If we haven't found it, and if they're finding stuff, that becomes more of an important item for them. So we try to. We do have a lot of work orders. And that's one of the things that they noticed is that we had a lot of work orders that were out there. We're trying to document everything. But we have a lot of work orders in the beginning part of the paint season as well, because our FA inspection was in June. It used to be in September, and it gave us the entire summer to get all these work orders completed for chipping of paint and fading of paint. But in June, we can't get to a lot of the stuff. So we have a lot of work orders outstanding by the time they get here. So
And some of
so
that's
there's
known.
no, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I was just saying, some of that's known, so.
That's what I
we
mean,
know
yeah.
that We have to paint every single year, so we know we're gonna have fading, we know we're gonna have chipping. When they
Right.
come in June, we're never gonna be ready for a full airfield repainting. And they know that, so when you see that on an inspection, those are like the lowest hanging fruit to be written up on a faded sign and
For sure.
paint. It's the repetition, it's making sure that that same taxiway echo sign isn't on the second, third plus year of inspections, because then there's a failure somewhere in.
Right, there's a negligence thing.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I'm sure you guys are more than aware of what is going to be on the inspection. And you have your own checklist.
usually not a surprise. And every inspector too puts his little his own spin on things a little bit. Because a lot of the inspectors are that particular year they may be focusing on signage or markings or life, so
Their
Sometimes
thing.
it's interpretation of the regulation itself.
Yeah.
That we go after.
Yeah, and we had like that one marking that we had to eradicate. It had been through 3 or 4 inspections up until now, and they caught it. Not really catch it, but they said, okay, the AC, says it should be done this way, and even though it went through the whole process of being approved and it was put down, and they found it, we just eradicated it, and then what we do is that once we have a corrective item. We have to correct it, and then we typically take pictures and send it to them just for documenting that, hey, this was completed. And at the end of all of those completed items, they give us a closeout letter saying everything's basically closed out for the year. So.
Yeah. Okay, my next question is, can you tell me a little bit more about the construction security fence is that around the beta, where the, what do they call it, manufacturing building?
No, that construction fence is actually the Valley West apron currently. So that building, they had to, because it's going to be abutting the ramp, we had to make a temporary construction fence. That is a security fence, but it had to be to the security compliance. We had to do a lot of coordinate with TSA, coordinate with the contractor, make sure everything was in compliance to make that acceptable.
The one that leads to, like, if it wasn't there, you could walk to the runway. That area?
No, it's going to be new, right, Dave? It's where the Area 5 was that you guys recently approved. That's correct, for the new hangar?
That's the new Aaliyah. That's the one that's on that would be the north edge of the Valley West.
Oh, that side. Okay, I get you.
That's
I get you.
Yep.
Okay. And then in my experience of going to a lot of other airports and seeing ours, it seems to me like we do a way above average job of snow removal and clearing the runway, especially with the increase in the amount of snow machines that we have. Is that about how we stack up to airports of our size?
I think we do an amazing job. I mean, we're well equipped, and we get compliments from the pilots all the time. And yeah, we're everything is A+.
Yeah.
We're often open when others are not.
It is extremely rare that this runway, this airport is closed. We never create that as like an expectation or threshold, right? You never want to confuse our crew with keeping our runway open as often as possible with safety, right? If we need to close it, we're gonna close it.
Yeah, I've done that.
But, you know, when we compare ourselves, when we look at other stations' equipment, we visited all sorts of different airports. We have new equipment, we have great employees that really know what Dave is talking about, and that's a lot, most of the time it's because of the training over the years through Dave and team. It's that they know when they're plowing what to look for too. And, you know, it's all about the communication, and then of course the actual broadcasting and publishing of the conditions. That's the critical part, right? You can have an inch of snow on the runway, but if you publish that to the pilots, that's gonna be the important part at the end of the day, right? And then clearing it, of course, is just as important.
Yeah, no, it always seems like we do just an outstanding job. Just out of curiosity, when we plow, do we start at the departure end or at the approach end?
Either. It doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter.
It's a continuous run all the way down. So it's it doesn't matter if they start off at 1.5 or 3.3. Actually they do it both directions, back and forth. And I always say that 1.5 mile piece of pavement is the most tended to piece of pavement in the state. Just keep it all,
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, because they have to.
And then the runway sensor chart. Holy cow, that's cool. Is that live every time we have an event?
No, the sensor is the runway sensor chart.
Yeah.
That is not, that's only internal. That's what we use aircraft.
No, I know it's internal, but I mean, can you see it constantly?
Oh yeah, it's real time.
Yeah,
We can
that's what I
see
meant,
it,
real time.
you know, any time it changes 1 degree, we can see it. It's that accurate. So, yeah, it's
That's
incredible. That's our go-to for our surface temperatures. We do also have an infrared that's on in the vehicles as well, but we use the runway sensors as our go-to. That's kind of our real standard.
And are they using that to give us the runway condition?
No, it's not. The runway conditions is an entirely different topic, but the runway conditions themselves are actually based on the
I need more information to understand
the RCAM system.
ChatGPT is just in the dark.
Yeah, I don't know where it's come from. So the runway conditions are the physical conditions as observed by airport operations. So based on the type of precipitation that's fallen, the contaminant, as well as the depth of that contaminant and the temperature all play into what's reported, and that will automatically give us as objective as possible that RCAM value that's provided to the pilots.
Yeah.
So,
but Ops is doing it. It's not ATC or anything.
It's not ATC, it's airport operations. We use the pilot reports as just like the BOMOC. We use the pilot reports to solidify what we're reporting is accurate. If we get reports of 2 reports of poor, we'll be out there reassessing that paved surface to make sure that what we're reporting is still accurate. And if not, we can downgrade it if necessary. And we can upgrade it too, to some degree, by using the BOMOC device as well. So we can only upgrade it to a certain point, but we can use additional sources to supplement the objective reporting through the RCAM system. So
nice. And my last question, I think I used up all my questions, but is the SMS, are we waiting for, I know you guys were investing in some really cool software for our new SMS, and the FAA is going to be all over this in very short time frame. But are we waiting for software? What is our what's our
we have a prescribed timeline that the FAA is mandating that we comply with, and we have, I think it's 3 years from the time that we had our we had an implementation plan that was done about a year ago. So we're still about a year or 2 out from going completely live with it. I think there's some elements of it that we can implement prior to that deadline, because we did work with Vyochi. That's the software system that we worked with to put it into into action. But So we're still, formulating the details and making it known to all the tenants and things like that. So it's sort of a work in progress, but we're getting closer to that compliance deadline. And
It's gonna
but
have
yeah.
a lot of pieces, I'm sure,
Yeah,
for
a lot
for
of
it not to
pieces.
be just a compliance thing, but actually a useful safety management system.
Yeah, for instance, the way it's designed is that we're going to have weekly meetings, SMS meetings. Certain individuals will be part of those meetings, and we'll get a SMS report. Somebody sees a hazardous condition or something happens. We'll get a report, and we'll review those reports once a week to see whether or not that's a critical item has to be addressed immediately, or that's something as long-term item we can kind of shelve for a little bit. And so we can kind of triage it in those meetings. So that's kind of the plan as we see it. That's what we propose to FAA, and it's just a matter of getting to making it live at this point. So
Nice, thank you.
okay.
Good questions, Robin. Commissioners, any other commissioners with any questions? So I just had one, which is, you mentioned that there's an inspection that happens. I know it's every day, or maybe it's multiple times a day. I didn't quite catch that, but
Once per shift.
once per shift.
Yeah.
So what are like the most common things that you find that aren't up to snuff when you're doing that?
Markings. Yeah, chip markings. They get beat up by the plows and stuff like that, and it's not just the markings themselves, there's little beads that's embedded into those markings as well. And what'll happen is that those beads will shear off from the plows, and they get, they chip and they fade. And as those beads get up, that reflectivity goes away. So a lot of reflectivity, a lot of chipping and fading of those markings. So
And then do you have to like remedy that?
not right away.
Not right away.
But once we notice it, we put a work order in, it's in there until that item is resolved. So,
And every now and again, that will require what Dave referred to as NOTAMs, which is referred to as the notice to air mission. It's a publication that the pilots can see. So if something's not in compliance that meets that level, then they have to publish something else for the pilots to say, be careful when you're taxiing this particular spot. It's not necessarily up to standard. But yeah, like Dave said, can't pay the notes, or we can't do those types of things. And we are open book when FAA comes. So whatever they need, we want to show them. But like Dave said, exactly like Dave said, we want to show them that we know that we're seeing these types of things.
just to add to that, if it's a critical item, we have some signs that are critical in nature. If it's protecting a runway, if that light goes out, we have to put a notification to the pilots out immediately. And that's something that shouldn't wait a couple of days to repair. That's something that should be done like the next day. Right. So, but we have to make the immediate notification to the pilots, immediate notification to air traffic control, so that they know that there's a sign out for the entrance to a runway, from a taxiway to a runway, so that they may pay more attention to that particular area, just in case a plane goes through that line that they shouldn't cross until they get permission to go across the line and to the runway. So, yeah.
Nope. Thank you. That's very comprehensive. I appreciate that.
All right.
That's 20.
Under 15 minutes, right?
In less than 75 size, it's 74 days.
All right, so this is kind of a icebreaker. Now you kind of have an idea of what our airport operations does, and airfield operation or airfield maintenance. And so to follow up every quarter, right? We have updates to that. So good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, we will move on now to, let's see, that was at 5, and move to item 6 from Larry.
All right,
Get a
structure.
tough act to follow.
Oh, yeah, very tough. And should be fun. Just a few updates from me. The SRE building design project of $1.2 million is moved to a construction project of estimated at $26 million, which is a very large project for us. Project is out to bid. We had a pre-bid meeting yesterday with probably 25 representatives of 14 different contractors, including 7 general contractors. Some very good interest in that project by all the major contractors in the area. So That's exciting news. We intended to open up bids the last week of December, but because of the holidays, we are probably gonna push that to the end of the first week of both first week of January. So and anticipated to issue award for that, then 20 days of bid and go to construction. So and it's the project will last 575 days, which will take us into the end of the construction season of 27, calendar year 27. So that project is moving forward.
Just real quick, a little bit of background for the commission financially for that. So that is going to require a loan to actually build this type of project, possibly 2 loans. Which will work as part of the construction bid numbers, the loan, and this will also hit our passenger facility charge application, which you're not gonna see that, but that's how we're paying for this loan and all of this type of thing. So this is a big project. There's a lot of millions of dollars in it. So it's a much needed project for our team and our crew. So you'll see this probably come back whenever the bids and the financials situated.
And with regard to the loan, so is that like a conventional bank loan, or are we bonding, or what are we doing for that?
So because we have a dedicated source of funds, which is the PFCs,
Okay.
over 90% of this project, we're working with the FA to determine the actual final eligibility on this project based on how we've designed it. We've done what we can to design it so it is as eligible as possible. It'll be a dedicated, so we can go out and secure, we're thinking at least in the similar way that we did for the QTA, where we had dedicated funds from the CFC. So it is different than if we didn't have a dedicated source of kind of external funds that we don't need sort of specific, I'll say like city charter approval or voter approval on, we'd be talking differently. So we're gonna do something along that lines, and we're working trying to see if we can get a very low interest, it's called to get loan for up to 49% of the cost of the loan, which would really help us manage the cash flow of using those PFCs on that, as well as lower interest costs on that. So those are the things behind the scenes that we are working on to make this be as feasible as possible for the airport and match our flow of funds.
So as long as you have a dedicated revenue stream, you can.
Different than like airport general revenue.
Right, okay.
So that would.
That's what I was trying to
So we
understand the
have-
distinction.
Even if I'm doing like let's just pretend for a moment I'm doing a new garage. I'm using airport general operating revenues as opposed to a dedicated revenue source.
Okay.
So with the PFCs and the CFCs tend to get treated differently, but we're working through the details of that. But if we're using just regular airport operating money coming in to pay off that mortgage, we have more hoops to climb through.
And voter approvals.
Right, okay.
And we also reported earlier that the promoter that accepted for potentially receiving TIFIA loan, which is very low interest, so.
Okay.
So, which we worked up. Next item, update, obviously, everybody's heard the news of all the developments at Beta, as of yesterday, we're putting more effort into what they're doing next from an engineering, planning, permitting, environmental aspect, moving forward. I'm sure they'll have more of that later, so that's more effort for everybody here at the airport. So the only other thing I have to update is we're choosing our consultant for the next 5 years to assist us with water quality sampling analysis and reporting with respect to surface and groundwater analysis that we have to do throughout and all over the airport. So that's another thing that's going on, and Madison's actually that falls in her now, but we're soon we've already gone up, we just went out to bid or for qualifications and bids, and we're narrowing down who we're gonna move forward with for the next 5 years on that process. That's all I have other than what's already in there. And if there are any questions?
Commissioner, anything for Larry? Right, hearing none, we will move on to item 7, which is the residential sound installation program update.
Okay, the only thing to really update there is, phase 3 is substantially completed, as I've briefly reported. A few punch list items there, that will go into January. Phase 4, yeah, will be finished before Christmas with some punch list items that'll go into January. However, all cleanup is being done for these families to make sure it does not impact, their holiday, holidays coming up, so that's priority number 1 for our contractor consultants and us, to make sure minimum impact from all the improvements we've done to their homes. The old DCC grant that we received, it was being quiet with respect to the government shutdown. That's now changed. We actually, on Friday, we have a meeting with them to kick off that $8.1 million worth of home improvements that starts back on Friday. We also received word from FAA. We had submitted our acoustical plan for the next homes that'll be done. That will be paid for by the OLC fee, and they gave us this go ahead to start designing and moving that forward. So that's really good news on that standpoint. Then finally, phase 6, which will be our grant next year. We're kind of reviewing that. That'll include construction administration and construction resident project representative, and it'll review where we're at with all the other aspects of every phase to see how we best move forward for the next year's grant to issue construction for as many homes as we can for the next year with what money we receive. So that's we'll be held to full with that. And that's all I have on that. Unless you have any questions?
Excellent. Commissioners, anything for Larry and the staff?
To just message that he instead of.
Yeah, he did let me know you have to leave at 5. So cool. All right, thank you, Larry. We'll move on to Marie and the financial updates.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So you have before you the results that we have through October. And the basic highlights we're sort of continuing as I would expect for this year. I've kind of noted in the report that the operating revenues are a little bit lower than last year. The parking garage revenues are higher. We're not surprised. We did raise our parking rates by $2, and we are definitely seeing that. The landing fees are a little lower. I'm not overly concerned about that, because as we go into the beginning of once we hit February of 2026, the Breeze Airway flights that we have, once they have been here established for 2 years, we will start collecting fees from Breeze Airways, both for their common use contribution, which is based on employments, there's a formula, and their landing fees, and they'll be paying terminal rent for their space downstairs. So we do offer that to new airlines, because or new routes, we offer that benefit on a new route for existing airlines, that they get a 2-year window. We have these as incentives to encourage new routes and things to come to the airport. So that'll start. We'll see that sort of start to change and turn around as we come to the new year. PFC revenues, not surprisingly, are doing really, really well. And I'm sure Nick will talk about that in his report. So we're seeing more people fly through here. We're very happy with that. Our expenses were a little higher than last year. A lot of that is really the salary and associated costs with that. But nothing that is we budgeted this way, we planned on this way. So nothing is unexpected, I should say. Our cash, we had a little less cash this time, and it really, with our project, we had about $2 million in the bank at the end of October. That varies a bit from month to month, given the timing of when we make our large payments on the big projects we have going on, and the timing of those reimbursements. So that is what I have to report for this month, and I will entertain and answer any questions.
All right, Commissioners, anything for Marie?
Just one question. Hey, Marie. Thanks for your report as always. I'm just curious, when we have 2 million in the bank, is part of our revenue interest?
I show Chris on there. Oh, very, very little. very, very little bit. I show.
Cause it's fluid.
It is fluid. And the city of Burlington does calculate the interest calculation that they'll give to us. Some of what we see on the detail I have for the revenues, some of that interest that you're gonna see on there, the majority of those interests is actually going into our big reserve accounts that we have. These would be things that we have with the Zion Bank. And these are things that are required by under bond. So we have
Right.
funds that are over there that were required, and that's usually if we see interest, that's the large part of our interest. We really don't get. The city does pay us interest on our PFC accounts, on our dedicated accounts. But we don't pay any fees or expenses for check processing or other such things. So it is that is sort of the way that it works with the city.
But not something that we get a lot of extra, but
No,
maybe a small petty cash. A shame for $2 million. You'd think we could maybe capitalize a little,
you would,
but I can
it's
see how
more
it could be promised and fluid at the same time, right?
It's more like a checking account, I guess, from that standpoint.
So actually, just to build on it, so are we getting like an earnings credit? Is that how it's working in lieu of interest?
In lieu of, yeah, and we don't really get to utilize that as much because the city does, but we require them to pay interest on our dedicated accounts. So, but because it's required as far as like PFCs or specific requirements that we have to have in interest bearing accounts. So the city does do that, but on the regular checking that they don't generally do that, but they don't charge us any of the fees for the wires or for ins and outs or other things.
And that's why the interest income in the revenue section is restricted because it's.
It is
Right.
pretty restricted, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they should at least give you a free gift.
Well, under $25, I guess. And not to me, to the airport. Yeah, but that's a good question. So yeah, it varies quite a bit, the cash from week to week, depending on what bills we're paying. We could be paying $4 million in a week, so we do see. And then comes right back, so.
Anything else for Marie? All right, we'll move on to Nick and the director's report.
Great. So I got a couple pictures and some very fun new statistics for you for the month of October. So the first one is I like to always start with the Project Next building. This is exterior pictures this time of pretty much all the glass going in or has gone in, new staircases. We now have 2 of the 4 jet bridges attached to the building, another one coming in the next couple of weeks. And then the final one will come closer to the towards the end of the project. But all the windows in, this is 3rd floor on the right, 2nd floor on the left. Lots of detail work happening right now, lots of drywall, electrical, utilities. We're still finishing up on some of the geothermal. Geothermal has been a tough, complicated process to go through. So we're trying to finish that up as soon as we possibly can, with I think about 10 more wells left to drill, which is exciting, but we got to get it done. It's really going really well. We're still looking at a spring opening for the majority of this project, and then we'll start looking at the demolition phase, which is the old building, and then we'll go right into the 2nd floor renovations. But we're very, very eager to kick this off in the spring with a grand opening. Excuse me. We like to celebrate our partners too, and Jesse and Dave were able to celebrate with United Airlines. I think that's all that the 2 of you were able to join in. And this is a pretty big deal. This is a safety recognition. They call it the United Airlines Safety Excellence Program. I think this is now multiple years in a row, where both facilities and training requirements, OSHA requirements, all sorts of things go into United's version of this safety excellence program. The airport's a big part of that because we of course rent their facilities and we need to make sure we maintain them with them. And if they have certain compliance issues, not just with OSHA, but their standards, we need to be able to address that with them. So it was really amazing to be able to see and partner, and United brought some of their corporate senior folks in to celebrate this with the United Ground Express or UGE team, as well as the United. So this is both a United Airlines and a UGE, which is the third party contractor that receives this award, which is absolutely hard to get and amazing to get. Just came back from a conference a couple of weeks ago with Madison and Larry. A beautiful time to be in the Fort Myers area. It was really, really nice. This was an annual noise conference. Burlington, as you can imagine, is getting more attention on all the amazing things that Larry reports, and Madison is on Larry's team. You've met her before, where we're kind of an expert in a lot of areas, and certainly in the OLDCC, the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. So it's great to sit and talk and meet with our colleagues and understand new procedures out there. One of the missing elements of this conference, unfortunately, was the regulators. FAA was not at this conference. You can see the dates and probably guess the reason why, which is because of the shutdown. I was also able to moderate a session about the health impacts of noise. I'm sitting with Mary Ellen Egan, who is a very prominent both prior FAA regulator in the industry for many years, and then also the CEO of HMMH, which you may recognize that name through our noise program and specifically our noise maps. Mary Ellen actually created a lot of the process around those noise maps throughout the country. Her and I have been colleagues for a few years now. And then we also were joined by a health expert out in London, England, to kind of compare the difference between the US and the European noise impacts and what they're doing. Very, very insightful conference and great time to spend with and get to know Larry and Madison even better. Couple things both from the past and coming up for you. Marie mentioned it as well, but we have gone through our full Flash parking hardware software updates, made the full transition. Happened to be while we were out in Florida too, so it was a nice, interesting time, but well handled by the team. From Marie to Mike Waite to Romeo, who may still be on. Romeo von Herman, who manages our customer experience team. But we got it done in about a week. Transitioned all of our hardware over. We're now live on the new system, which was great. We had a couple of hiccups along the way, as is expected with any transitions. We're still learning our system a little bit, but holy cow, is it much better. And you actually pulled one of the new ones, which that's already validated for you.
Wow.
So you're good to go. Lots of new features on the new system that we're going to start programming and publishing and getting out there so people can hand their phones and prepay and all sorts of really great things coming up down the pipeline. But really proud of the work that went in to get to a new system, which we desperately needed because our old one was quite frankly failing on us. But it's great to see that in. Kestrel is doing great. I just wanted to give a quick update on some of their progress. I might be a little bit more detailed in the upcoming months on how well they're doing, but selling thousands of cups of coffee already and doing really, really well on the revenue standpoint, a little bit better than we expected and what they expected as well. So we're going to continue working with them, all of our concessionaires, really, to make sure we maximize those non-airline revenue sources. That's a very, very important part of our revenue streams. So that not only do we provide that customer experience and the amenities, but also make sure that we're competitive in the market from expenditures to our airlines and encouraging our airline growth through alternate revenue sources like this. You've seen these on a few times. We almost made a couple of them this month, but you obviously see no action items.
Yeah.
We have Vermont Flight Academy, Aerodyne, and the Hangar Condo Association. These are all leases and or ground spaces on the airport that will just wrapping up some negotiations, and we'll bring a final lease to you. I believe all three of these will be coming to you in January. Definitely two of them for sure. Same with the TSA, GSA lease. We got a couple of things to wrap up on that negotiation as well. This is for office space, break room space, that sort of thing for their employees, and that will come to you in the January timeframe as well. The Hudson Amendment may come to you, may not. We actually brought this Hudson Amendment to you quite a while ago. I want to say almost a year and a half, I think it was. You approved it, made it all the way through City Council for approval as well. This is an amendment to extend their contract in lieu of a pretty substantial investment into their facilities, close to $1 million of investment. So it is a justified 10-year lease extension on that concessionaire. We haven't started that yet, so I'm still kind of working through the details on if we may bring this back. There's no changes to the actual agreement itself, but just because it's been so much time, I just wanted to bring it up again as well. Jeff actually joined us and then left maybe, or maybe he's still on. Oh, he's still there. So Jeff and his team, Alex, are out in beautiful, warm Kansas City. Which I think has more snow than us, or at least the pictures look like it. But they're over at an Airport Council International North America Marketing Conference. Again, joining colleagues from around the country, other airports, etc., on marketing efforts and marketing changes and definitely communication changes. Jeff, I don't know if you want to add anything to what you've seen so far.
I've been on a Taylor Swift hunt. I haven't found her yet, so but no, it's been good. I can't speak enough for AAAE and ACI. They put these conferences together that allow professionals in our different buckets in aviation to compare notes and really review things. It was a sobering opportunity today. We had a closed door session discussing an incident in Toronto in February, and being able to ask questions of the communications and the C unit of how they presented things and how they went about communicating during a major crisis. So, and then fun stuff where we're discussing, fun ad campaigns that we're doing. So it's the full gambit. And a lot of these ACI conferences are hugely valuable for me, and I know for everybody else, with the noise ones and so forth that we attend, hugely valuable.
Thank you, Jeff. And then the statistics portion. So you can see from the landings from the departures that we are over last year, but less than 2019. This is obviously indicative of possibly some of the landing revenues that Marie is talking about. Not all of these are going to be associated with revenue, like Marie said too. And you can see that we're projecting pretty close, at least for the last couple of months of the year, to last year. Again, over by a couple hundred from the prior year so far, or projected so far. As far as the scheduled seats are concerned, we also see some pretty big, still some pretty big numbers throughout the rest of the year. We see a little drop in the November-December timeframe that we're still kind of analyzing exactly what's going on there and how the airlines are going to bring that back for us in the beginning of the new calendar year. None of the statistics have changed on the side, where we're still averaging about 81% full aircraft, higher than we have seen certainly in the last in 2008, 2019, similar to 2019. And then definitely higher, again, these are the same numbers on the bottom right corner, higher number of seats per flight, of course, due to the size of the aircraft continuing to get larger. I think the most exciting slide for me to share with you today is our numbers through October. We're looking at over 80,000 passengers. This is the first time in the airport's history that we've ever seen over 80,000 outbound passengers. Not just in October, but any month, any year at the airport. We have never seen this many passengers come through. You can see the massive uptick. Last year, you might remember that saying that was the highest October we've ever seen. And you can see that with the dark blue line there in October. Well, of course, the orange line at the very top exceeds that too. And you can see how busy we were throughout the rest of the year in there as well. And you can even compare that. I can't see the number on my phone here, but the yellow is the 2008 numbers in there. So you can see obviously in the beginning of the year, yellow was the higher numbers in 2008, largest year ever at the airport. We're still looking at a projected final number for the calendar year, just shy of 720,000 passengers. But again, highest number that we've ever seen through the airport any month, single month in the history of the airport. We also did publish this in some press releases. We hit the most consecutive days in a row. This all happened through October of over 3,000 per day outbound passengers, 18 days in a row. The last time we hit this number was back in 2008. We also hit it in 2004, where we had 6 days in a row of 3,000 or more passengers. So 18 days in a row, over 3,000, over 80,000 for the month of October. Busiest month that we've ever had in the history of the airport, with amazing partners like TSA and FAA managing historical loads and numbers through a pretty tumultuous time with federal employees. So a huge shout out of seeing all these numbers go through our checkpoint while not losing any time or anything in the actual security checkpoint, which is absolutely outstanding. We're still looking at a very, very high year. The last year you can see we ended the calendar year at 681. 705 was the most recent high year since 2008 at the 705. So we're going to beat it this year for a calendar year for sure. So we're not going to get to the 2008 calendar year number of 759, but we're getting close. And I'll just add a little drop in there too, comparing us to other airports. This is now the second year in a row that we've beat Manchester, New Hampshire as well. And that's what I have for you today.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Commissioners, anything for Nick?
Nick, a really quick question. Any developments with particular airline partnerships in terms of extending operating months, like with Breeze, or just seeing these sort of, fairly high passenger statistics? Is that driving any further engagement from particular partner airlines?
It is, yeah. Jeff and I have met with a few of actually all of our airlines over the last couple of months. There's definitely some routine requests on there. I think one of the big ones is United Airlines keeping Denver service year round is a big priority for us. But there's others. Delta, for example. We have upgauged aircraft or smaller aircraft going to larger aircraft continuing to happen for the next 6 or so months. We have additional additions to existing routes. Detroit, Atlanta, you're going to see additional numbers per day leaving the airport in the spring and summer of next year. And there's always moments in time where we look at airlines, look at our own data that we collect, justify with airlines how we really need additional services, especially when load factors continue to grow or more largely fuller flights. We continue to market, justify, and request additional flights and additional routes on existing routes. Additional numbers on existing routes. It's not always about us though, right? It's about equipment, it's about pilots, it's about how often they can schedule it. It's about overnighting here at the airport. We do have some constraints that we're working on right now on our jet bridge capability, not jet bridge, but our gate capabilities and what we can offer to different airlines, which we're going to be addressing with new systems. So it's a complex question, I guess, to you bet we're always asking and advocating for additional flights.
Thank you.
Right, commissioners, anything else for Nick?
Nick, can I, a couple of things. One, I happen to have been through a busy stretch of flying lately, and I just want to just piggyback on what you said about TSA. And, you know, you can tell it's crowded in there, but the flow through security is every time I've been in there has been really, really good. So kudos to everybody on that. On the other side, I've been now like 3 times in the last month or so where I've been flying out and have had a pretty significant delay due to what the pilot is saying is a de-icing issue, that there's only one de-icing truck at a busy time of departures. And I just wanted to bring that up and see if that's something that's on your radar. We've also had a team that struggled with the same thing. And as you know, with tight connections and so often we're connecting places, an hour delay can mean a missed connection and real challenges. So is that something you're hearing? Is it a structural issue? Interested to hear any thoughts you have on it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, we have been hearing that both anecdotally and with direct comments from passengers and social media, etc., and direct emails, whatnot. There's a couple of things happening here. So one, Heritage Aviation does a really, really great job with 6 de-icing trucks that they have at the airport. So there really should never be a case where there's not enough de-icing trucks unless some strange anomaly of equipment outages. They also have brand new icing truck, at least one brand new icing trucks, which Larry and Masson really like because it reduces the amount of glycol being sprayed, but it does take slightly more time to apply the actual product on the aircraft to de-ice and anti-ice. Not enough time that it should cause these types of delays. One of the things that we're looking at too is proper communication to the passengers on the aircraft. We're seeing more communication from airlines saying there's de-icing delays. And I'm not saying this is the full case, but about half of the instances that we've looked at, there have been communication from airlines saying there's a de-icing delay when in fact there's actual ground stops at the destination airport. And what that means is you can't leave Burlington until air traffic says you can leave because there's too much traffic at the destination airport. So they schedule you a time slot. Sometimes that's 30 to 60 minutes down the road. So you might have actually already got pushed back, ready to go, pilot's talking to you, you're in your seat, and then there's a ground stop saying you can't leave for another 30 to 60 minutes. So there's a combination of that all happening. You're also not going to get de-iced if the pilot knows that there's a 60+ minute ground stop. Sometimes you're even at the end of the runway and you have to come back and get de-iced again if that happens to be the case. So we're still tracking that pretty significantly. I have talked to Heritage pretty recently, yesterday, to make sure that nothing is related to operations or Heritage's impacts or anything associated with that. I think there is, because the other 50% of the time, sometimes there are delays on getting a truck there. And that is something that we are working on with Heritage to make sure that doesn't continue to occur. and find out what the actual reason why there's a delay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, Jeff, because of the ground stops that they'll put at the other airports where they're going, and I fly at 6 o'clock in the morning all the time. And so I can hear the clearances that everybody's getting. So, they'll say, okay, United, you're cleared. And right now you look like you're an hour delay for New York. And then the next guy comes up, oh, you're 45 minutes delayed. Da, 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 da. And that rolls down to when they can get de-ice, because the holdover time is specific to the type of fluid that they're using, and it times out. So even if it's not necessarily snowing, but there's ice or there's visible moisture or whatever, if they de-ice you and that holdover time is 15 minutes and you can't leave for an hour because of ATC, they're not going to spray you. So it's just part of the annoying process of winter operations at a small airport going to major airports that are already delayed.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I was just going to add that, we get these complaints in real time through our help desk, through social media and everything. And one of the advantages of being a small airport is while we may be down the line in the pecking order, as Robin just talked about, we can respond pretty quickly and get to the bottom of what is causing it. So we do monitor it, at least from the customer service standpoint, and because it is top of mind, and it is probably especially late night coming inbound is one of the top complaints that we get. And those are conversations that Nick and I have definitely had, and other ways that we can improve it, whether it's technology or AI, et cetera, to address it.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
All right. We'll now move on to item 10, which is commissioner items. And so this is basically a follow-up. I know we don't have members of the public here, but we did receive
two members of the public on watching the webinar.
Okay, great, thank you. So we had received a request to review a proposed proposed resolution to the city council. That was going to be presented at some point, either December or January. Just for the record, for anyone who's here from the public, I did canvass the commissioners as to their level of interest in having this be an action item. There was not sufficient interest in that, and so as such, it is not an action item. It's not something that we're going to consider as a body. But I do want to offer the opportunity for any commissioner that does have a statement that they would like to make on this topic to do so at this time. You're not compelled to do so, but if anyone wishes to express anything regarding the resolution, we're certainly welcome to at this time.
I was surprised to see that there was very little interest. It seems like something that is not legally under our purview, but certainly as a true airport concern, and is already being, discussed mightily in our community. It seems to me a do no harm as far as our oversight or reputation is concerned. And so I was a little disappointed that we weren't gonna move forward with having that conversation.
Fine, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to that group quite a bit, and I think I agree with Robin. I think, we should have some type of conversation around a resolution, if, the rest of the team wants it, but I'm not sure if that resolution was specifically what we should be talking about as a policy and advisory body. If it's especially meant to be a resolution for city council, then city council should weigh in on that, and that's just my personal opinion. But thinking of something like condemning, activity that we don't agree with morally, at the airport, obviously not the airport's fault, that might be something that I would get behind. But I apologize, Tim, I didn't respond to your note. I was in meetings all day. But that was just my interpretation of that specific language.
Thank you, Kyle. Alan, go ahead.
I think I agree with both Robin and Connor, and I was wondering, I don't think that resolution was really written in a way that it made sense for the airport commission to weigh in. But I do think we've talked a little bit about and gotten information about what you are and are not doing and can and cannot do. And I think I think it's reasonable and important that we come up with some kind of statement that, um, supports our activities, and our resistance, if you will, or at least, our concern about maybe the legality or the way people are being handled, that doesn't really have any, it's the right word. It seems to me, we don't really have any power to do anything, but it's still a statement that says we really understand, we appreciate how difficult this is and how, um, immoral or unethical or hurtful it is to a lot of innocent people. And it puts the airport in a weird position. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank
Thank you, Helen. I think Connor, you have your hand up?
Yeah, no, I just raised it just to reinforce Helen's, but I completely agree with Helen around the kind of the language versus saying something. I think that that's something that this body, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone else, but would at least be, I think this body would entertain a conversation around some type of like resolution, not necessarily a resolution or a statement condemning that activity, which I think is very different than weighing in on a city council intended resolution.
Yep.
Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Really quick question related to that, and I'm in agreement with some of the comments made prior. I am curious, I haven't heard mentioned today any changes in ICE activity. If I missed this, my apologies, but is there anything to note, Nick, in terms of compared to the November 5th meeting that we had, the lack of ICE activity at the airport?
No, there's been no known activity since the summer, that we're aware of, or that is even been reported to us by the advocates that are tracking some of this stuff. So no activity. There has been some federal law activity that's occurred, and I think I briefly mentioned to this happened with preliminary injunction on some of the language associated with the grant that kind of sparked some of these conversations, which required airports to coordinate with and not impede in ICE activity. The DOT through this lawsuit, which was determined by a judge in Rhode Island, has determined that language in grant activity unlawful and has been removed from those grants. Sorry, not removed, but is not being enforced in those grants and will no longer be put in future grants of the airport. So that is brand new. In fact, I just got that official message from the FAA at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We knew it was coming because we knew the lawsuit was already settled, but the FAA officially announced that, and that's as of November 4th. So that's a pretty massive change to those particular items. Everything else is identical, and that's no ICE activity. We're continuing to display information about human trafficking. We're working with the advocates and our federal agencies. We're ramping up our training on human trafficking and introducing new programs through our badging operations. So there's a lot of activity that has and will continue to occur. Can I keep going too on kind of my opinion of the resolution?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I I've also met with the advocates specific to this resolution, and I've mentioned that I don't and can't support this resolution in its current format. Again, I'm a department head of the city of Burlington. I report to the mayor, who the city council is ultimately through there. This resolution has not even seen city council's eyes yet. So I think the process is also a little bit backwards here. I think there's a lot of things that need to occur, a lot of conversations, and a lot of legal opinion on this particular resolution before it possibly it continues to move forward. I think there's language in there that continues to be a little bit contradictory to some of the great work that we're doing. And I think that the intent, what is the intent of this resolution? There's lots of requests, specifically in the bullet points, but those requests a lot of times we're already doing. If it's a request to TSA, they're already looking at this from a legal standpoint, and this is not in their scope of work to verify that somebody is legally able to be transported by a law enforcement officer. So again, that's an example of things that really need to be looked at before, in my opinion, this goes any further. And I think it does. And I've asked for some legal opinion and for the folks to look at some legal counsel, because there's a lot to this resolution that doesn't quite match what we're trying to do. Do I agree with some of the sentiment and some of the conversation? Sure, but I think we're already doing that, and we've been doing that too. And there's no activity happening that we know of here in Burlington. But even if there was or wasn't, this is a larger issue that's not preventing deportation from happening. It's just moving folks around the Northeast to be deported.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And I think, not to characterize previous comments, but my sense is that the resolution as drafted from a process perspective just didn't quite fit for this body. That if this is something that council is to be taking up, they should take that up. If council wants to ask us to take something up, we could consider taking that up, but it just felt like it was the sort of wrong mechanism on obviously a really serious and tough topic. From my personal opinion, I think the detentions are absolutely abhorrent and defy a basic sense of humanity. And I think it's rightfully raised major concerns within this community. And I commend the advocates and activists for raising these issues and potentially having spurred some of the outcome and progress that we've seen here at the airport, or lack of activity. But from my perspective, a better tailored mechanism or process would just be better fitting of this body and the jurisdiction that we have as a body.
Got it, Billy?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Andrew. The process seems a little backwards. I was just taking a look at the data, and so since early August, when we had that kind of the meeting where everyone came, and at which point kind of the community advocates and researchers said that folks have stopped moving through the airport. People are still moving through kind of the ICE detention system. To their own data, it's about 250 people since that date. And so it's still present. So I think the conversation in my mind is on this point. I think there's consensus, maybe, I don't want to speak for the group, that this conversation around the specific language is moot, but I wonder if it wouldn't be worthy a conversation of some type of resolution, exactly to Helen's point earlier.
Commissioners, any other comments on this?
Nick, can you just state, you said that sorry, I didn't quite understand. What was the big shift with the FAA that just came out with the grant?
So in our grants that we signed this year, it specifically says The recipient will cooperate with federal officials in the enforcement of federal law, including cooperation with and not impeding U.S. immigration and customs enforcement in other federal offices and components of the DHS in the enforcement of federal immigration law. That's the exact language from the grant. What happened was there were 20 states in the United States that signed onto a lawsuit. Vermont was one of them, that put a preliminary injunction to halt this language from being enforceable. That was just preliminary, like we didn't know where it was going to go. That was heard by a U.S. District Court for the District of Rhode Island on November 4th, which is why that it goes back to that specific date. And that judge declared that this language is unlawful and ordered vacated from all grant agreements administered by the defendants.
Got it. Okay. All right.
So-
That's
so
the
all
last
that-
piece was the piece I missed. Thank you.
Gotcha. So all that language is not enforceable because it's still in current grant language, but not enforceable. And then in the future, no longer going to be in the grants for the 20 states.
Thank you.
Just for the 20 planted,
I'm pretty sure.
Interesting,
Yeah.
so it'll be different language and.
Which it is today. So
Okay.
I shouldn't say each state, but many states have different grant language. So depending on which lawsuit or which type, because there's another one happening outside too, each language has to that. And this actually changed during the grant process. So we received our grants with none of this language in. I was ready to, I was being prepared to sign the grants. Then they redacted our grants to put this language in. This language was required by Secretary Sean Duffy, which is why it's a case called Duffy versus whatever the plaintiff states, or California versus Duffy, and it joined on that case. So yeah, it's different all over the place. New Hampshire's gonna be different than us, because they're not one to the states. But Maine is, so that's why Maine, Portland, Maine specifically, and I have been communicating quite frequently on this.
Okay, good.
Right, commissioners, thanks for weighing in. I think there's some additional follow-ups that will result as a result of this conversation, so keep your eyes open in your email boxes. You'll see something from me relatively soon.
Can I add one more?
Yes, go ahead.
So the last thing I'll add too is, like I said, I have met with the group. I've met with Gene Bergman, city councilor at Burlington, who was at our last commission meeting as well. With the group, there's still a lot of communication, a lot of collaboration on exactly what might feel right and whatnot.
Right.
I think bottom line being, it really needs some additional legal guidance and counsel and communication. They're actually not able to be here today because they're down in a different state, advocating for another human rights issue. But I've had lots of great conversations and continue to have those conversations, because the many things that we are doing, we're not necessarily directly related to our ideas that came from kind of the group conversations from happening. We still have pamphlets being delivered, all sorts of things happening. That were a collaborative effort to make sure our passengers, our customers, our employees were aware of this situation and knew what specific resources and rights were when it came to, at the very least, witnessing potential human trafficking. So lots of great communication and with the group.
Go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, no, can I just actually give Nick a compliment around that, especially because I've also heard how communicative like the airport has been and how willing you, especially Nick, have been to like meet with folks and kind of be in constant communication. And I think from a commission standpoint, I just want to say thank you for doing that. Not every, community leader is so responsive to community questions and needs often. And I think especially kind of in this political zeitgeist, that's very refreshing to hear your willingness to kind of step up
Yeah.
and meet with them when the easiest thing would be not to. And I know it is I know you view it as your job and it's second nature, but I still just want to commend you and say thank you for putting in that effort.
Appreciate it.
Here,
Thank you.
here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll close out item 10 and move on to item 11, which is follow-up items. Commissioners, I don't think we had anything carried over, at least not on the agenda. Is there any follow-ups from airport staff that we'd like to have for next month's meeting? All right, hearing none, we move from item 11 to item 12, which is adjournment. Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Let's move by Helen. Is there a second?
Yes,
Second.
All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi,
Any opposed? That's it, folks. That's it for 2025.
happy holidays.